Welcome to the Viking Age podcast, the official podcast of the VikingAge.com. My name is Chris Schad. I write for Zone Coverage, Bring Me the News, and the Brookings Register. My co-host is Adam Patrick, the managing editor of the Viking Age. We do this every Monday with a late week episode right here on the Viking Age YouTube channel. We are also in podcast form on Apple and Spotify the very next day. But however you consume us, make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe so you never miss an episode and we can spread the word to the masses. 1,100 subscribers strong entering the season. I believe it was 1,120 when I logged on. So I don't know. I probably won't get to 1,200 by the start of the season, but maybe you guys can help us. If you're checking us out for the first time, make sure you're subscribing. Not a lot of new news outside of this, which was a complete accident for the audio audience. I no longer have a goatee because I pulled out the trimmer and the guard wasn't on it. So I put a stripe right down the side of my mouth and I said, oh shit. So don't worry, it will be back.
Now that I think of it, you should have done like the Jeff Hardy with like the stripes down,
Well, no, it was like on the edge. I couldn't do it. Wasn't like it was. I don't start in the middle of my mouth. That'd be like weird. Like I go from one side to the other and it gradually thins out, but I guess I trimmed my sideburns or something and it wasn't on there. So after a couple of minutes, I'm just like, shave it off, it'll grow back. So it's supposed to be like 90, and we got the Legion baseball tournament in Brookings. So I'm going to I don't know, might be a little bit cooler that way. But you know where else it would be cooler? Minnesota Vikings training camp. And we're a week in. Everybody is perfectly calm and level-headed and everything else. So I think it's a good day to do some early camp takeaways. Training camps, it's only like 2 weeks, right? It's not very long.
The open practices are.
Yeah.
They still have practice like in between, I guess, their preseason games. It's not really called training camp.
Yeah, I mean the actual training camp portion.
Yeah, I know.
Is like
it used
2
to
weeks.
be like it used to be like a month and a half. I feel like, and now it's like 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, and then on the last day, everybody would like throw their gear to the fans. They don't do that anymore.
Yeah, and they have like a barbecue or something. They don't even really do anything.
Some kid probably like punched somebody out, like I don't know, or some adult punched a kid out. I don't know, the other way around. Anyway, outside of that, I have a good one. Lewis Cine might be in trouble because the Vikings signed a defensive back today. And I know what you're thinking. You're going, defensive back, great. He's going to play corner. Well, technically, Bobby McCain really is a corner by nature. 9-year veteran, played for Brian Flores in Miami in 2020, has spent time at corner and safety, but Brian Flores went to the podium and said he's going to play some safety for us. And if you're counting at home, the Viking safeties include, and I'm kind of putting them in semi-order on the depth chart, Harrison Smith, Cam Bynum, Josh Metellus, Theo Jackson, Lewis Cine, and now Bobby McCain.
And Najee Thompson, he switched to safety this offseason too.
So there you go. You have 7 safeties, and even if you don't know a lot about football, it's not great. Somebody's got to go. And you look at everybody and you go, which one offers the less? Apparently that's Cine because McCain started on the second team on Monday. So Lewis Cine is a goner, isn't he?
Well, he didn't practice today for the second time in a row, and there's been no indication or anything that he's hurt. So some have speculated that maybe the Vikings are trying to just trade him now, and they don't want him to get hurt, so they're keeping him off the field. The addition of McCain today. At first, I thought it was maybe to help out with cornerbacks because he's played in the slot before, and I thought maybe they'll bring him in to be the slot and then switch Byron Murphy back over to the outside. But with Brian Flores saying that he's a safety and him working with the second team immediately, it makes me think that he's probably coming to potentially replace Cine, who they're looking to move on sooner than later. So yeah, I don't think Lewis Cine's chances before training camp to make this team were already low, and I think what are they? This is their fifth practice in,
Mm-hmm.
and it already seems like they've already made a decision that he's just nothing's really changed, and we're just going to try and see if we can move on from him. We've tried these last 2.5 years, but it's just not a good fit. And the Vikings, they don't have a ton of draft picks next year, so they might as well see what they can get for him. See if another team needs a safety because he's still young. He's still, he hasn't played a lot, so he doesn't have a lot of wear and tear on him. He did break his leg in his first season, and seems to say that he's recovered from that, and that's not something that's holding him back. So, maybe a fresh start somewhere else will help him out, but it just doesn't seem like he's a good fit for the Vikings. And I don't know if that's because they just have so many safeties, like Harrison Smith and Bynum and Metellus. I think they were originally planning on him probably to replace Harrison Smith, but he's still here. And then Bynum emerged and Metellus emerged, and now Theo Jackson's kind of on the same path. And Najee Thompson, they like to keep him around for special teams because he's really good at that. Then you bring in McCain, and he's already with the second team. So you're like, okay, so I guess Cine is done because they did keep 6 safeties last year. So I guess there's a chance. But with the addition of McCain, I think that's just no longer the case. So yeah, I think Lewis Cine, you can put a pretty good amount of money on him not being with the Vikings next season. Does he even make it to the first preseason game at this point? I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't seem good. I wasn't sure if you mentioned that I got a text and I had to turn my phone on D&D quick, but this was not a Brian Flores draft pick. This was an Ed Donatel draft pick.
Yep.
And sometimes, players can survive with a regime change, but maybe Ed Donatel, who wasn't very good for the Vikings, saw something in Lewis Cine and thought it could pan out. It was not panning out during his rookie year before he got hurt. Even in the preseason, there was some hope for him, especially with all the encouraging news with that injury, but it never materialized it into anything. I think he had one game with 7 tackles last preseason, and it was like, oh, here we go. But he was missing tackles in the hole.
Yeah, it was
and
against 3rd and 4th stringers.
If you're on the back end of Brian Flores' defense, you better tackle. Ask Caleb Evans how that's going, because you need to tackle on the back end of Brian Flores' defense. And if you're making wrong decisions, if you're making wrong reads, Brian Osama, is he still on a milk carton somewhere? Because I haven't seen him. I haven't heard of the guy in 2 years. Yeah. And maybe part of that was due to injury. I'm not ripping him. I'm just stating a fact. He has been completely absent since everybody thought he was going to have a breakout campaign a year ago. So I don't know, man. This 2022 draft class, it could get worse. We could be at the end of this preseason. We could be sitting here and going wow, this is even worse. Especially if Ty Chandler running the wrong way and missing pass protections. Ed Ingram, I don't think his starting spot is secure.
No.
It's getting pretty thin. And you know what?
And Andrew Booth.
Yep. Yeah. Andrew Booth Jr.
It's getting burned every day.
Yeah. We saw Jalen Naylor. Rare Jalen Naylor appearance.
Is he 2022 or 21?
He was 2022. Yes.
He is? Okay.
2020. Well, no, 2021 was the last year of Amir Smith-Marset. And I think Naylor got in the game the following year in 2022.
He might be 21.
Are you looking it up right now?
Yeah, I'm looking.
Okay. I didn't want
No, he's 22. Okay, you're right.
22.
You're right.
Yep. He was a 6th rounder in 2022. So
yeah.
He's fast.
I remember.
That's like the motto for the 2022 class. Well, he's fast. Yeah. Ty Chandler can't block, but he's fast. Jalen Naylor can't stay healthy, but he's fast.
I remember
Lewis
hearing
Cine
this.
Sucks, but he's fast.
I remember hearing the story about, I think it was Keenan McCarthy, was pounding the table for Jalen Naylor, and I'm like, you got him in the 6th round. You didn't have to pound the table.
Calm down, dude. We've been here all day.
No one's gonna get him. Don't worry.
Kyle Shanahan did that for Joe Williams, a running back out of Utah who retired at one point. And
probably because he played for the 49ers.
Gary Kubiak pounded the table for Alexander Madison. That worked out well.
Well, he would. Yeah, you know what? That's like an Madison's like an old school like Broncos running back, like Mike Shanahan days, where you could plug in literally like your grandma and she would
Landis
get like
Gary,
1,000. Yeah, Landis Gary, Ruben
Mike
Drone.
Anderson.
Yeah. Just throw a like Mad Lib's name in there and they would get 1,000 yards.
The NCAA, or excuse me, the college football 25 name generator, like you're seeing all over. Like,
Yeah.
Like some of those are pretty funny, but then like people are just like, oh, this sounds like an NBA player. So that's dumb. But yeah, I mean, it's not looking great for Lewis Cine. And
who is even like, what do you think they could even get for him? Fifth,
conditional
sixth?
7th.
Wow, that low
like
already.
You have to bet that a coach is like just has like an ego trip and he's like, I can fix him.
Yeah, it would have to be a coach probably that like either liked him before going in the draft or has probably had like a past history with him before. I don't know if any of those coaches are in the league now because he went to Georgia, and I don't know if any of their defensive staff is in the NFL now. But yeah, it would have to be someone who's like probably familiar with his skills and thinks that he has more to offer. But like at the same time, is it really, is it a case of him just not being good enough to beat, Harrison Smith, who's arguably the best safety in Vikings history? You could argue that. Paul Krause is obviously there too. He's in the Hall of Fame. But Harrison Smith's been pretty damn good in his career. And Bynum and Metellus have just had a really good year last year. They've been trending upwards, and Scenes just really hasn't had a lot. 2027.
The Cam Akers pick. Dustin Roberts says 2027 7th round conditional pick on the YouTube channel.
The Timberwolves just give up like 2035 pick or something?
Yeah, 2032 first round pick. They traded like a 7th grader for Rob Dillingham.
Yeah. Okay. That's
NBA great. Trades.
That's great. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, because somebody was in the fan sided Slack, whatever today was asking, like, because Matthew Judon with the Patriots he had like an argument or whatever in practice and left with the coach. And I was like, or somebody asked what they could get for him. And I was like, he's going to be like 32. He's coming off a season-ending injury last year and he wants more money. And I'm like, conditional 4th at best. So like if someone like him can only get something like that, yeah, I don't think they're going to get a lot for Lewis Cine. But you also at this point, do you really care what you get?
No. I mean, you just need picks next year. Like if somebody's willing to give you a draft pick, you just make the deal. If you got a straight up cut bait, I mean, it's almost
because if you trade him too, you don't have to like. I feel like you don't have to pay him whatever he's due this year. Like you give him the signing bonus, obviously, but then like his salary doesn't count for the Vikings.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, it's unfortunate. He seems like a decent kid.
Oh yeah,
like, there's nothing wrong with him. He just can't play football.
So we don't think he's making the team, right?
No. I think at this point, if they're now Bobby McCain, I keep wanting to call him McClain, but Bobby McCain is signed to play corner, then it's a different conversation. But the fact that he just plugs right in and he's playing safety ahead of Cine, not a good sign. So
it's funny that you say Bobby McClain because there is a Robert McClain who is also a cornerback in the NFL.
I'm also thinking of McBain, the fictional Simpsons character who's like the diehard guy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's the joke.
Suck,
McBain.
I think I saw Jay Ward was playing some corner today. Saw that floating around. So
what if Brian Flores is just going to say fuck it and play like 7 safety defense?
Just have like 2-3 zone in the secondary, like their Syracuse or whatever.
Yeah, just all right, guys, just hold your water. We're gonna hope the pass rush gets there.
Stay in your area.
It's just
Harrison, you got to be 50 yards back, but cover your ground.
Is there anybody on the market that you want after, the shit show we've seen the last couple of days?
Cornerbacks?
Yeah.
Well, I think I think Judd Zolgad from Score North, I think he said, I think Stephon Gilmore is still in the running, but he's someone who might just, want to skip training camp and just come in closer to the season, kind of a la Brett Favre back in the day where he was like, oh, I don't know if I'm coming back. And then training camp ended and he's like, you know what? I think I'll come back. Because Gilmore is what, 30, 34? He doesn't want to do training camp. Like, if he doesn't have to. And he's still going to get paid if the Vikings sign him or someone else signs him. So that could still happen. So for those who are worried about, McCain coming in, they're like, oh, no, they're not going to sign Stephon Gilmore or, I guess Patrick Peterson or something like that. Like, there's still plenty of time. Because I think Kevin O'Connell indicated that Kwesi and front office are still working on bringing some people in. So still a chance. I would like to see Gilmore, because he's familiar with Flores' defense, and he was still solid last year. So I would like to see him be brought in.
Yeah, and I mean, the only thing you'd be worried about is usually when you're signing dudes at this point of the year, like Favre's the exception, not the rule. And you're not going to find a corner with a Brett Favre-like impact, but I mean, you need a good one. So that's basically what's going on.
And
here.
I would assume Gilmore's probably training every day on his own, though. But.
Sure. Yeah. Anyway, more important question. Have you acknowledged Will Reichard today? Because to make room for McCain, exactly. To make room for McCain, John Parker Romo, JPR, as we like to call him in the biz, he was released, posted a video on X, basically signaling his departure, just like, check out this 47-yarder, guys.
Is he allowed to do that? He posted, film, his practice film.
That is really weird. Yes, he's not coming back now that you mention it, but people are still gushing over Will Reichard's performance, and I can't tell if it's a bit or it's just them acknowledging our new kicking tribal chief. So, Will Reichard, Vikings kicker, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, as a Vikings fan, I don't think we're allowed to get excited about kickers. So I'm glad that he's doing well in practice. It's practice. I would like to see him play in games first before I, run to say that he's defeated the curse and he's the next great Vikings kicker. I'm not going to do that yet. Been burned too many times. Blair Walsh had an amazing rookie year and then he just fell off a cliff. But so far so good with Reichard. I think John Parker Roman said, maybe he'll be back, sooner than later or whatever. But even if he comes back, I don't think he's winning the job. If he came back, it'd probably be for the final preseason game, so they can just sit Reichard and make sure he doesn't get hurt. But yeah, I mean, it's exciting. He went 5 for 5 on Saturday, and he was booming kicks and OTAs too. I think he's doing a deal with Walmart for backpacks back to school.
He's definitely got a unique look to him.
He does. He's still. I made the joke or whatever that he still gets ID'd to get into PG-13 movies.
Yeah,
but he looks like
he looks like the kid that gets in trouble in middle school, and you're like, that kid got detention.
Right,
what did he do?
Right.
Oh yeah, he had a pocket knife. He brought his Swiss Army knife to school.
Yeah, he was hanging out with the wrong crowd.
Just wrong place, wrong time. I
guess.
But
yeah, I mean, yeah, it's good. And too, he's kicking outside. He used to kicking outside. Kicking in, for whatever reason, kicking inside US Bank Stadium is a whole different animal. For whatever reason, Vikings kickers struggle in there. Not the other team's kickers, but Vikings kickers.
Well, and if that's the case, then don't you it's possible for the Vikings kick? See, here's my thing on the kicker. Not to interrupt you, but I want to say that you've already used the word curse. You go back in time, you look at all the traumatic Viking kicker events, and they're totally reasonable in a vacuum. Gary Anderson missed a kick after not missing one all year. Well, that was going to happen at some point. It just so happened at the worst time possible. You sign Ryan Longwell. Nobody talks about Ryan Longwell as a kicker, but he was pretty damn good for the Vikings in the late 2000s. Blair Walsh. Yeah. I mean, sometimes athletes just get a case of the yips. Like Chuck Knobloch, Twins
I was
second
just
baseman.
gonna say,
Yeah, back in the day, like they traded him to the Yankees and he started like injuring people on the first baseline with his throws. And then they threw him out in left field and all the Twins fans threw batteries at him. It was a quick fall from grace there.
Yeah.
You could also look at the Mike Zimmer era and be like, did you really have to like call Daniel Carlson out for missing a preseason PAT? Or
and you could argue he looked like similar, like just like still looked like a kid coming in from the SEC, just like ready to go, missed some kicks, and all of a sudden Zimmer's like, well, he sucks, so we gotta get him out because NFL, you can't miss a kick. And it's like, what are you talking about? Everyone misses a kick. It's okay.
Well, and now too, like kicking in the NFL is more difficult than it's ever been because you have more kickers that can bomb it from 60 yards.
Mhm.
Like what's the name of the Cowboys kicker? Maher? Is that his name? Or am I thinking of somebody else?
He
Okay.
was the kicker, but they have some guy who like was in MLS now.
Yeah, he was a soccer player, and then they signed him, and he was booting.
I think he was he worked for like State Farm too. Brandon Aubrey.
Yeah,
He
like
plays-
that dude's kicking like 60-yard field goals, and like everybody looks at their kicker and be like, well, "What's your deal, Greg Joseph? Why can't you?"
why-
And what's that?
Well, I was gonna say, why aren't more MLS players like kicking the NFL? They make way more money
Yeah,
and do way less.
yeah.
Like kickers.
Every high school football team has a soccer player as its kicker.
Yeah.
Like when I covered Cass in Manterville, 4 or 5, it's already been like 5 or 6 years ago. Holy shit. But they always had a kicker from the soccer team kick for them. I think a couple years it was a boy, and then last year it might have been a girl.
Oh.
But yeah. But I mean, not that it matters. I'm just saying they find a soccer kicker that can boot it. Like, hey, want to kick field goals? And I'm like, yeah, sure. So yeah, I mean, it's not but also too the MLS, like you're training. MLS goes a long ass time. Like they play until November.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like you have to get guys who cut or just don't want to play soccer anymore. So
yeah, I
love the game.
I've always wondered that, like, they don't get paid. Like there are guys in the MLS who obviously get paid a lot, but for the majority, like they don't get paid a lot. So like minimum salary, what's minimum salary for a kicker is probably like 500K.
So the MLS Cup, this is the 2023 one, but it was on December 9th.
Oh my God.
So your answer is they're booked. That's why they don't do it. So it feels like they just play in the summer, but yeah, they play until December 9th, which is pretty wild because they start in April. Or I think they start in March.
They play once a week? Probably more.
Don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds right. I think that's what they do in England. They play about once a week, but I don't know. Any soccer experts, chime in the comments. We'll educate ourselves. But I don't know. I mean, I'm going to let the kid kick. If he misses and sucks, that's life. Like, not everybody is Justin Turner.
No. And he
be
misses,
nice, but
he misses, Justin Tucker. He
oh yeah.
He misses every now and then.
My brain is on baseball.
I think you did that again. You've done that before. You called him Justin Turner. There's that dude in Kansas City who he misses kicks. Probably gonna miss a lot this year. The kid, the kid we were just talking about, Brandon Aubrey, he went 36 for 38. He missed 2. Mike Zimmer would have cut him. I mean, missed those 2 kicks. But no, yeah, like it's I don't know. It's exciting to have to finally, like, they drafted a kicker, so you're concerned, like, oh, why did they draft a kicker? And then he comes out and plays like this, and you're like, oh, okay, all right. So I think Kevin O'Connell has probably been a little too nice to Greg Joseph to be like, he's fine, and then kind of got burned by him a couple times last year. So maybe hopefully this kid can be a little bit more reliable.
Well, we've covered corners, we've
Yeah.
covered kickers.
Yeah.
What would be the Vikings trifecta if we didn't talk about the quarterback position?
Uh,
Because
yeah.
training camp opened, JJ McCarthy was out in the public eye, and everybody lost their minds. The Vikings have been taking it slow with McCarthy in the months leading up to camp. Got a couple press conferences in. You know, Wes Phillips is like, hey, you got to kind of balance the reps here because we want to get Darnold reps. We want to get Nick Mullins reps, Jaron Hall reps. You know. Then the fans showed up on Saturday, and like it was like a test drive. Like some people, they're like, hey, where do you want to take it? And they take it around the block and like kick the tires and whatever. Vikings fans wanted to jump in the damn thing, speed to the Autobahn, and just four to the floor, just see how it rides and everything else. You know, are fans being a little too aggressive when it comes to JJ McCarthy, or are the Vikings not putting him out enough in this scenario? Because it feels like things got weird on Saturday. Like, if we're being honest here.
Yeah. I know there's a clip of him throwing a pick, but like Darnold threw a pick too. People seem to ignore like the other reports that JJ McCarthy went like 5 for 6 or whatever in red zone drills. But yeah, it seems like because we're talking about like the Vikings getting pretty like ultra protective over JJ McCarthy this year. Like in the past, there's fans have been able to share videos of practice, like not crazy, but not every play, just like, but they've been able to share that. And then that happened again on Saturday, and a lot of people who shared the videos posted that they were contacted by either someone from the Vikings or someone close who was like, "Hey, chill out with that." And I saw, Lindsey Young, who's been on the show before, who works for the Vikings, posted a tweet that was like, "Hey, don't record practice." So it's like, I don't know. Is it like paranoia? Like how much? I know it's a game of inches and everything, and the Vikings are maybe they're trying to protect JJ McCarthy from the criticism online and stuff that he might log on and see people being like, oh, JJ McCarthy sucks, but at the same time I don't think he cares about that stuff.
Is JJ McCarthy even online? Because I don't think
he's got an
posts
Instagram
much.
and he's got a Twitter account, but I don't know how active he is. I know he posts more on Instagram than Twitter or X or whatever. But he, think about like all the stuff that Michigan went through last year with like the Harbaugh stuff and all like everyone calling them, cheaters and everything. And he still played fine after that. If he was going to crumble, that would be the time. But it just feels like the Vikings are kind of being like, you hear the term like helicopter parent, where like the people like don't let their kids kind of like just, you bring them to the playground and they're literally like spotting the kid, like, so they don't fall off the playground or like go on the slide. And like the Vikings are being I feel a little too protective. I know they have a plan or whatever, but like like if JJ McCarthy is this fragile where he's gonna like combust because there's a clip of him throwing a pick online, then you probably shouldn't have picked him in the first place.
That would be a whole new low for Vikings quarterbacks. Like, then I'd be like, yeah, we're cursed. Like he just spontaneously combusted.
Like
too many people filming me.
Yeah, like no, he was at Michigan. He didn't play at like Michigan Tech or whatever. Like he was at Michigan. Like they have 100,000 people in their stadium. I think he's going to be okay.
Respect on the Huskies.
Michigan Tech?
I think so. Let me look.
I just made that up. I didn't know it was a real school.
No, they're a hockey program.
Okay.
Michigan Tech Huskies. Yeah.
Okay.
I was thinking, I said Huskies and I'm like, no, that's St. Cloud State. But yeah, Michigan Tech Huskies.
So yeah, it's just like it was just weird because we are used to seeing clips online when the fans are there of some drills 7-on-7 and 11-on-11. Because I think the rule is for the beat reporters, like they can't record any of that stuff. They can record like positional drills and warm-ups and stuff, but they can't post any 11-on-11 or 7-on-7. So when the fans do it, You're like, oh, this is like cool. We get to see some of this. And for people who don't live in Minnesota or can't go to training camp, it's cool to see that stuff. And it's like something that if you've never been to training camp, you get to kind of feel like you're kind of there and get to experience it. But the Vikings are just like, nah. And they only have like 8 open practices this year for fans. Like, I feel like that's going to get smaller and smaller. But then you have a team like the Chiefs, who there was a clip posted of them doing like a quadruple end around pass on offense, and you could see everything on the field, and no one's like, the Chiefs aren't shutting that down. So, and guess what? They won the Super Bowl. So, it's just it's odd.
They could live stream their whole playbook and they'd still probably win the Super Bowl because they have Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, and I wonder if it's like, is this a Kevin O'Connell thing? Is this someone else in the organization who doesn't want this? Like, I don't know. It's weird. Kevin O'Connell did come from the Patriots, so you would think like he would, I don't know, be maybe more notice of stuff like this. But like, are the Packers going to beat the Vikings because they saw a clip from training camp on someone's Twitter account like next season? I don't think so. So I don't know.
And if they're running game plan install plays for week 1,
they're not
like right away,
not in front of the fans.
Yeah, like it's kind of like maybe you should, Well,
you remember last year? Was it last year or the year before when they did joint practice with the 49ers? And people were literally like looking up the plays that they were running in the practice and posting like
they were trying to figure out Kevin O'Connell's playbook.
Yeah. Oh, that was the first year. It was 2022.
Yeah.
So, yep. And they were posting like diagrams. That stuff is a little like crazy. But if you're just posting a clip of like dropping back, because there's plenty of those clips out there. Because I believe the Bears don't allow any recording at all. Because like some of their reporters like do like sketches just to poke fun that they can't, post on the video.
Court photos.
But I don't know.
Williams.
It's weird because these fans, you have to pay to go to training camp too. Like, it's not free. I don't know. It's weird. Is it like a slippery slope? I don't know. It's just I understand why they do it, and I understand why the fans think like, who cares?
So I looked up some interesting numbers today. I watched JJ McCarthy's press conference.
Yeah.
And it had 24,000 views in 48 hours.
Yeah. It's pretty good.
Pretty good. It was 4 times the amount of Wes Phillips's press conference. It was 3 times the amount of Kevin O'Connell's presser. And it was 33% more than Sam Darnold's presser. Sam Darnold, who is the starting quarterback, by the way. I looked further down the list, and an interview with Gabe Henderson of VEN had 71,000 views. This is with JJ McCarthy.
Is that the cart one?
That was the cart one, yes. And then also, like, by comparison, the video of Justin Jefferson, that 24 hours thing, I believe it had 80,000 views. So there you go. I don't blame fans for being excited when it comes to seeing JJ McCarthy.
Right.
And if you're at training camp, I mean, you are going to take photos and videos and put them on the net. And like, if you're a casual fan going out there and being like, hey, cool, it's JJ McCarthy, he threw a touchdown to Jalen Naylor. Like, there's nothing there.
Right.
I think where it gets aggressive is you have people on social media who are engagement junkies.
I was going to say content creators.
Yes.
It's going to be nice.
Yeah, no, they're engaged. Like some people are content creators. That's fine. But like there are other people who are just engagement junkies. That's the best way that I can.
I think I saw someone who said like JJ McCarthy and it's a real controversy, a QB controversy in Vikings camp. And it's like, no, it's not.
Like there are more like I take issues with the reporters who go to Twitter and by the way, if you're listening to this on audio, I put up the finger quotes, but the reporters who sit in the stands and like there's one very prominent one who sits in the bushes and gets his scoop from the cashier at Target and calls himself a reporter. Can't imagine why the Star Tribune didn't hire him.
He's still waiting for the Pioneer Press to
that's right. They go on, they basically record the entire thing. Like you mentioned, they draw up their diagrams and everything else. And like, people are like, man, they only have 10 open practices a year. Why do you think they do that?
Yeah.
Because you have psycho fans like that I don't even know if they're fans. I just think they just get off on getting a high like number. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Which literally means nothing.
It doesn't. I mean, Elon gives them what, a quarter? Oh, Elon's gonna pay my bills. Hey, this check's not as much as I thought it was. Like,
Yeah, well, you can buy a bagel.
yeah, I mean, like, I don't want to shut down the common fan who just wants to take a photo and post it on Instagram or like a quick video, like, oh, sweet, like JJ threw a touchdown to Jalen Naylor. Fine, whatever.
Yeah.
But like, if we're going in there and being like, they're running double X sweep, chocolate banana, spider Y2 mix, J 1585 ultra flip, like, come on.
Yeah, there's
my rant.
Yeah, there are accounts that post like, you know, they'll go to practice and post like, you know, 4, 5, 6 videos, and they're people who post a lot about the Vikings, or they work for a site that covers the Vikings, or they have a, you know, popular, I don't know, Instagram or TikTok account, and they use that footage for their account. And they also, you know, they're trying to be a reliable voice within the Vikings online community, and I understand that. But the Vikings have certain rules, which if you want to do that, if you want to cover them, you probably should follow those too. Because you're just going to probably then ruin it for everyone else who, you know, they're going to have 4 open practices next year. And then all we're going to see are those slow motion highlights of, you know, their punter, you know, holding the kick for Will Reichard.
Here's Will Reichard.
Yeah, like, so.
Are they protecting Will Reichard?
Yeah. But the thing is,
get him to the podium, damn it. We need to hear.
I was going to say this about JJ McCarthy in terms of like protecting him. The more they keep him away, like from the media and whatever, the more people are going to want to see him. Like,
right.
Like that, you mentioning that 24,000 people watch his pressers are so boring. They are so boring. And 24,000 people watch that.
Yeah.
Because they wanted to hear from JJ McCarthy, who's been advertised as like the next, you know, franchise quarterback, and the Vikings are like, nah, he's not going to talk. So it's like, oh, okay, I understand that, but like, you can't say this guy like he's going to be our, you know, our next great quarterback, and then be like, nah, we're not going to like expose him or anything. It's like, this is 2024. Like, that doesn't work anymore. Like, if you, I know they have a certain way of things, but like, I don't know if that's really going to protect him, because there's always going to be people that are going to like get film of him, or there's going to be TMZ or whatever, all that stuff. Like, people have phones everywhere. Like, he can be recorded wherever he goes. Like, when he goes to Texas Roadhouse, somebody's going to take a picture of him. Are they going to not let him go to the Minnesota State Fair this year because they don't want him to get mobbed or whatever? Like,
it's just an angry Packer fan.
It's weird. I feel like if they let him be in the public, you know, picture more. I know he's a rookie too, and he already has a lot on his plate. That's part of it too. But like, I feel like they're being a little too overprotective, and it might be making it worse.
It's a balancing act.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's a balancing act because you have, like, I could point out 3 examples right now of kind of how this works, because Jordan Love just became the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. He had 9 good games. They basically, they stuffed him in a broom closet, and he came out of his cocoon and like spread wings and like, oh shit, we got to pay him $55 million because Aaron Rodgers was so angry he was fueled on tequila, ayahuasca, and rage for 3 years before he got traded to the Jets. So, I mean, there's that. Then you also have the other example, which is like Mike Zimmer, who like stuffed Kellen Mond in the broom closet and threw away the key. That didn't really work too well. And then you have a guy like Sam Darnold, where full frontal, he's 20 years old when he gets drafted. He's the starting quarterback, and congratulations, you have Adam Gase as your head coach. And oh, by the way, you're in the world's biggest media market that will eat you alive. Welcome to the NFL, Sam Darnold. Like, I think there's a balancing act, and I think it's good that the Vikings did give JJ McCarthy a press conference, because he's going to have to deal with that eventually. Right. So, I mean, that's part of throwing him in the deep end. I think, you know, giving him first team reps when you're not game installing is a good idea. So, I mean, I'm not going to freak out if he doesn't start the season. I'm not going to freak out if he's not starting by week 9. At this point, it will happen someday. I can put good money on saying JJ McCarthy will start a game for the Vikings at some point during his career. And if he doesn't, but I mean, everybody's just freaking out because I don't know. They saw Sam Darnold.
To be fair, I feel like they've approached, Dallas Turner in a similar way. I don't feel like he's been all over. He's had one interview with the media, and because I think he's been dealing with the Kyrie Jackson thing because he was friends with him when they were at Alabama. But still, like they haven't really put him in the limelight either. So maybe this is just their approach with rookies. They already have a bunch on their plate. Kevin O'Connell's been there before. He was in the NFL. Josh McCown's been there before. He knows what to expect. Sam Darnold too. Obviously, you mentioned that. So maybe this just is their approach, and we just have to deal with it. Maybe they'll have maybe they're secretly filming a Netflix show for JJ McCarthy, and we'll just have to find out everything next year for that too.
Yeah, I feel like the Vikings have paid their debt to the NFL
right?
films. Like, how much more do you want from us?
I'm pretty sure they're not going to be picked for Hard Knocks for a while because they just did all that.
Kicker, Will Reichard.
I mean, it would be interesting, except for the fact that they're on the field for like 3 plays a game. So.
Paper Tiger, man, George Plimpton.
Yeah,
although they don't prestigious football book.
At the same time, in those shows, most of it's really not game stuff. Yeah. A lot of it is like sideline, practice, home. So, like, I guess you could make kicker work. You could do just specialists in general. You do punters, kickers, long snappers.
Like, it would be fucking wild if they chose a kicker that had like a Blair Walsh moment and have him like sitting in the thing. It's like, I fucked up. I shoved it left. Like, and like just be like, that happens. Like that would be.
What was it? Was there? I feel like there was one year, might have been in season or one of the quarterbacks, Netflix. I can't remember. But I feel like there was one of the people's team. Oh, it was the Niners. On receiver when the rookie last year, he missed that kick against the Browns, and they would have won the game. And immediately they just showed Kittle going up to the kicker and be like, who cares? Like, whatever, you'll hit more later. So, like, that's all they showed, but it was interesting. But, going into the psyche of kickers, and because kickers are weird. Like, you kind of got to be.
You want to talk about somebody else who's weird?
Sure.
Kirk Cousins.
Oh, yeah.
Kirko.
Whoops.
Appeared on the Scoop City podcast.
That doesn't say Kirk Cousins.
What does it say? Random Kirk Cousins update?
No, it doesn't say. You put up a Christian Dare's little graphic. Is that?
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
We're having an on-air production meeting. I don't see Christian Daresaw anywhere on my.
Okay, never mind.
Thing.
All right, never mind.
Maybe I did. I'll go back and watch it, see if something happened. But Kirk Cousins, let's talk about him. He appeared on the Scoop City podcast with Diana Rossini, Chase Daniel. That's the Athletics' new podcast. And they were talking about, hey, you're a Falcon now. What happened in Minnesota? Why didn't they bring you back? And he says he was told by the Vikings, if we re-sign you, it's highly unlikely we'll draft another quarterback. Cousins also said that the Vikings only offered him 1-year deals, but ESPN's Kevin Seifert said in a report, I believe it was about 2 weeks ago now.
Like 10 days ago.
Yeah. Said Kevin O'Connell made Cousins aware that they were drafting a quarterback due to a deep 2024 class, but that Cousins would be the starter in 2024 and possibly longer. So, yeah. Kirk
Somebody's
Cousins, somebody's got their nose growing.
Somebody's lying. Yeah.
Do you think Kirk just has an issue with selective hearing? Like,
I think Kirk likes to tell his own version of the story. He knows that Kevin O'Connell's not going to probably spill any of the stuff that he's talking about because he's not want to do that. He likes to keep things kind of internal. Same thing, I guess, with Kwesi too. They both like to say, especially ever since that USA Today interview in 2022, and he just like spilled the beans on everything, and then it was like, oops, can't do that. But yeah, Kirk likes to make himself out to be the good guy in pretty much every situation. He doesn't want to come out and say, hey, they weren't giving me the kind of money or the kind of guarantees that I wanted, so I left. I knew they were going to draft a quarterback, so I left. And then he got to Atlanta and they drafted a quarterback, which they didn't tell him at all. At least the Vikings came out and were like, hey, dude, we're going to draft the quarterback. We're going to he's not going to play immediately. I think it said in the Seaford article, like they wanted Kirk to be the bridge guy. And I feel like him even thinking for a second that he was going to be a bridge quarterback probably just bugged the shit out of him. And he was like, no, I'm not doing that. I still got a bunch of career left in me. I'm not being a bridge guy. And then he went to the Falcons and that's what he is. But at least he's getting paid. But yeah, I understand he's going to get these questions for a while still, but I don't know. It seems like something bothered Kirk. I feel like about the negotiations for him to still, because usually by now he's like, it is what it is. We moved on. I'm with the Falcons now. It doesn't really matter. He's usually not one to say stuff like this. I feel like, and so for him to say something like this is kind of out of his character, I guess. But I don't know. Maybe he's more brash and I don't know, cool in Atlanta. But I haven't really been paying attention to him down there, anyways.
He said that he stays out of contract negotiations, so maybe his agent was this. Maybe it's like Freddie Freeman, who's with the Dodgers now, but he was with the Braves, and he was really wanted to re-sign with the Braves. But the story was that his agent saw the offer the Dodgers were giving him and wanted more money, so he's like, "Yeah, the Braves don't want you, so let's sign with the Dodgers." And the Braves are like, "No, we had this big offer out there," and I think the agent got fired or something like that. It was pretty crazy. I think you're right when it comes to Kirk wants to be the good guy. He wants to be the hero. He also wants to be loved because he's never felt like he's been wanted at any stop that he's been at. May not be the truth, but goes to Michigan State. He's a 5th string quarterback. Goes to Washington. Jay Gruden's kind of like, well, I guess we'll start you because I don't really like Robert Griffin III. Vikings sign him. They give him that contract. Everything's good until, the head coach doesn't like me. Fans don't like me. Just whack-a-mole, right? Now Falcons fans are kind of finding that out. So, well, it's not my problem anymore.
Yeah, they're in the phase 1 of the Kirk Cousins experience. I saw some posts yesterday from Falcons fans who were like, he wasn't with very many good defenses when he was with the Vikings, and then one other person was like, well, he's going to be our MVP and lead us to the Super Bowl, and I'm like, see you guys in 4 years, okay?
see you guys in January.
2 years. 2 years. Yeah.
Man, that first Kirko big game moment's gonna hit like crack.
And to the people who either are gonna probably comment on this or other stuff that I write about or other people write about Kirk Cousins, who are like, who cares? He's not on the team anymore. I'll show you the numbers and let you know that a lot of people still care about Kirk Cousins. Okay.
Those things bang.
Yeah. So don't tell me no one cares because I have proof. But so I don't know. I feel like Kevin O'Connell was probably it was his exit meeting or whatever, and he's not one to go out on a sour note. He if there was a person in the Vikings building who you could say liked Kirk Cousins more than anyone else, it would be Kevin O'Connell.
Mm-hmm.
And he probably thought that. He probably thought hey, if we re-sign you, he probably felt like, hey, we're not going to be in a rush. We're not going to try and trade up for a quarterback if we re-sign you. Probably that was the thinking. But they probably were still going to draft a quarterback, but like it wasn't going to be like try and trade up to number 3 to get Drake May or anything like that. Probably would have been like sit back and get someone like a Bo Nix or Michael Penix or something like that. So yeah, I don't know.
Like I said, not our problem.
No.
Outside of random Kirk Cousins updates, what's going on at the Viking Age right now?
Keeping track of Vikings camp. Obviously, a bunch of practices this week. The preseason game is not this Saturday, but next Saturday. Where are they playing? I think they're playing the Raiders in Minnesota. And then and then they have 2 games on the road. They're all on Saturday, so that's good at least. But yeah, we'll be covering that, and then maybe we'll keep an eye on some former Vikings too, because still like to keep tabs. Because I think we wrote about Taylor Heineke, who's also on the Falcons, and how he basically knows he's probably not going to make the team because Michael Penix is there, and so is Kirk Cousins. So he's ready to go somewhere else. So yeah, check that out at VikingAge.com. We got a lot of good stuff. Follow me, Adam Patrick NFL on Twitter and X.
You can follow me at the Real Chris Schad on X, Threads. I made one post on Threads, but
hey, I made
we'll get going.
That joke I made about Will Reichard got like 100,000 views. So
there you go
on Threads.
Zuck's gonna give you a quarter soon.
They pay a lot more on Threads than
they do
than Elon does. Elon's running out of money.
Yeah. But engagement, click.
Yeah.
On that note, that's all the time we have for the Viking Age podcast today. We do this every Monday with a late week episode right here on the Viking Age YouTube channel. We're also in podcast form on Apple and Spotify the very next day. So however you consume us, make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe so you never miss a new episode and we can spread the word to the masses. For Adam Patrick, I am Chris Schad. This has been the Viking Age podcast.